Hold the applause. Hold it. It's tough getting such a reception here on this Sunday morning when you want all praise and glory to go towards the Lord. And you guys are cheering so heavily for a man, but a mere mortal. It's okay. Thanks, band. So listen, it is Sunday morning and it's banqueting table. That's what we're doing here. Hold those applause again. Here's the deal, okay? I'm rather excited this morning. We're doing this service a little different than normal. I'm pretty excited. This is my favorite thing that we my Baptist roots that make me love like a table fellowship so much, you know? And I think that's true. So those of you out there who, grew up Southern Baptist, you'll know who the happiest people in the room are this morning because we'll just be excited. I don't know if anyone made biscuits and gravy, but if you did, I'll feel right back at home. So, no, really, I'm excited this morning for everyone to be together. It is truly wonderful for those of us who love the Lord to be together in unity and just enjoy a meal together. So we're going to do things differently this morning. I know some of you, I don't know kind of how you all handle like your Thanksgiving dinners, your Thanksgiving lunches and things. Like you have the people who starve themselves so that they can eat a lot, and then you have the people who eat a little bit because if they starve themselves, then their stomach will be too small. Anybody? That's me. I feel like I need to eat a little something to get it going. I don't know if that's true. I'm not good at the sciences, but that's how I do life. So anyway, I know you may be a little hungry, but we're actually going to feed you with the word first this morning. That's right. We're going to do, Nathan Cameron is going to share a little bit from the word, and then we're going to eat, and then the band is going to come back up after we do some announcements and do worship, okay? So if you're out there and you'd like to know what's going on, I just told you what's going on. We're going to have the word. We're going to eat delicious food. The kids are going to stay with us. Kids, behave. They're going to stay with us. And then we're going to do some announcements, and then we'll do worship at the end. Everybody good? Wonderful. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome up Mr. Nathan Cameron.
All right. Wow. It's on. Good morning, everybody. As Ty said, my name is Nathan Cameron. I'm going to fold this down because it'll make noise, and this one. For those of you who don't know me, I'm a professor at the C4GOD. This is technically the basement. We call it the sanctuary. Most of the school happens up there. This is the first time that I have spoken at Bible study or church since we've been in this building. And thank you. You hear people say things like it's a lot of pressure to talk in front of all of you. It kind of helps that you're spread out. We'll get to it. When I teach or talk, I do it with slides. So I'm going to talk briefly about table fellowship in the Bible. And it is the basis for banqueting table. And like Ty, I like for you to know what's going on at the beginning. So this is what we're doing right now. I'm going to make some brief comments about table fellowship in the Bible. Cool? And then we're going to dive into 3 focused narratives with an accompanying value. And then I'll offer an encouragement based off of those 3 values. I'm just kidding. Okay. That's what I would have done if I had the entire time of a normal church service to talk about this. But you might have seen this post on Workplace. I know it's small, right? So I broke it down for you. This is the section that really got me thinking. 1, song. 2, exhortation. 3, food. And then 4, worship. And so the song is done. We did that. This is presently the exhortation. And so back to the irony, my first time to talk at the church in this capacity in a long time, and I am the human blockade to you getting food. I apologize for that, but that's where we're at. So I narrowed it down to one focused narrative. Yeah. It's easy. And one accompanying value. I had to, but which one? Because there are so many, right? If you can't read that, I can't either, so we'll do it together. If you didn't know this, Jesus talks about food in the Gospels, more than almost anything else, all the time. And these are some examples, you can't fast when the bridegroom is present, which means you need to eat, right? He has dinner at Levi's house that the Pharisees don't like. He feeds 4,000 people, then he feeds 5,000 people. He eats with Zacchaeus. He eats with Simon the Pharisee. He eats his Last Supper with his disciples. The kingdom of heaven is like a king who threw a banquet for his son. Food, right? Don't go to a wedding feast and take the seat of honor. Social advice around food. He cooks fish post-resurrection on the beach, right? And then he eats with disciples on the road to Emmaus. And then you have some Old Testament hits where Abraham has visitors from God and they share a meal together. And then Moses, Aaron, and his sons eat on Sinai, in the presence of the Lord. Food is everywhere in the Bible. And then there's that really cool story where Elisha stops a Syrian invasion with a meal. So if you've read that story, that's not what we're doing. And when you think about banqueting table, I think the narrative most people go with is, the Last Supper with the disciples, because, this is my body, all that kind of stuff. But we do it a little different here at this church. So the one I picked was dinner at Levi's house in Mark 2. And if I'm being honest, it's the one that I started with. I was like, I got to talk about banqueting table. I should do Mark 2. And then I was like, no, think about it. And then I really went through all of those, and I was like, no, I'm going to do Mark 2. So here it is. I hope you can read this. I tried to make it big enough. This is Mark 2:16, and specifically the context of this text is when Jesus has called Levi to follow after him, be his disciple. He's a tax collector, okay, by trade. So here it is. When the scribes of the Pharisees saw that he was eating with sinners and tax collectors, they said to his disciples, "Why does he eat with tax collectors and sinners?" And when Jesus heard this, he said to them, "Those who are well have no need of a physician, but those who are sick. I have come to call the righteous, not the sinners." So we're going to break this down real quick. You have the scribes of the Pharisees. That's the set of antagonists in this narrative, if you're practicing literary criticism. And this is the beginning of 3 episodes. If you are going through the Gospel of Mark, I used this slide in a class, and I couldn't take it all out. So this is what they are. Jesus is going to attack 3 tenets of the Pharisaic holiness code, which includes the rules of table fellowship, public piety, and Sabbath regulations. This is specifically the one on table fellowship. And the next thing is going to be a quote that I want us to pay attention to, because it's going to set kind of the lens for how I'm going to talk about what's happening. So in their culture, meaning the culture that Jesus is part of, every table fellowship is a guarantee of peace, trust, or brotherhood. So those 3 things. And, if we were going to be PC, we would say peace, trust, or personhood, right? But anytime you eat with somebody, one of those things is in play in their culture. These people, to whom symbolic action means more than it does to us, and symbolic action is exactly what it sounds like. It's the idea that doing something with somebody else contains greater meaning than what it has on the face. So symbolic action means more to them than it does to us. And so you would immediately understand eating together as the acceptance of outcast into table fellowship with Jesus, which is an offer of salvation to people who are guilty and assurance of forgiveness. And so Pharisees, this is why when you see Jesus eating with tax collectors and sinners, they're like, ew. Because to them, it's acceptance, it's trust, it's brotherhood, it's forgiveness, it's opportunity for mobility in terms of righteousness that in their culture they don't feel like they afford, right? You guys aren't tax collectors and sinners, but stick with me here. We're going to bring it around. All right, so we're going to take that away. And so table fellowship then is a central expression of social interaction for Jesus's culture along those lines. And Jesus takes issue with it, and that's all that red stuff. Those who are well have no need for a physician. But that's not what we're going to break down here, because Jesus's issue is not with the value, right? To make that explicit, there's nothing wrong with table fellowship being considered symbolic action. There's nothing wrong with table fellowship being something that brings people into personhood, fosters peace or trust. Those are all good things. And there might be something wrong with the fact that as a culture, we don't value it as much as they did. You with me? And so, again, hang on to those things: peace, trust, brotherhood, personhood, however, whatever order you want to put those in. His issue is the way that they manipulate that value to serve their social biases, right? And so who are they going to let in to their table fellowship? People that are like them, people that are the same economic class, people that share the same social status, those kinds of things. Got the same education, frequent the same places, right? Jesus is busting that mold. He's not going to do that. And so I'm almost done. So the first question I want you to think about is like, what biases, and I say, what biases do you bring today? Again, you're not Pharisees and tax collectors, but think about the things that, like, everybody has criteria for, like, what brings them to table fellowship, right? It's like, I've known you for a long time, or we like the same sports teams, or we've had these experiences together that have characterized us in a certain way that made us familiar with one another, right? So take a second just to evaluate what you have in you that is determining who you sit with, who you talk to, those things, right? And whatever they are, let them go for today. Sit with people you don't know. You all have to get up and get food. So if you did the thing where you sit with the people you see all the time, I would encourage you to shuffle when you sit back down, right? Question 2, can you internalize the value that Jesus recognized? And I think, we do this as a congregation because it is a wonderful opportunity to do some things that I'm going to cover on the last slide. But the question that I'm asking you here is, can you take what is communicated in this text and make it a part of who you are and incorporate table fellowship into your lives, independent of situations like this, where you do use it as a venue to foster trust, to make peace, and to bring people into community along those lines. Does that make sense? I think I have it, yeah. Banqueting table is inclusion in this regards. It's unity, and it's a sign to the world that differences don't prevent peace, trust, or brotherhood along those lines. And so here's some options, and these are for conversation, I think. Remember Jesus as you sit and eat together today. Talk about his life. That's the example, that I'm trying to give you here. We talked about how Jesus ate with Pharisees and tax collectors and how he reacted. Those stories, they give us values. Let walls down. If they're up, drop them. Experience brotherhood, trust, or peace. Create some new memories today. Learn something new about somebody else, an experience they had, a story they told, something about their person. Do I have more? Yeah. Or tell a story of inspiration, vocation, or faith. And I'm going to tell a quick story about the benefit of that. I think it was 2006, and we were on internship in the Philippines. And after a long time of ministry, multiple weeks, we had a party on a beach outside of Leyte, where we sat with everybody that we had worked with for that entire time, and we just shared a meal together. And the conversations and the stories that were had in that time were all about wonderful things. Like, how did we see God moving in that country? How were we feeling called by God to make a difference in the things that we saw? And I reflect back on that time so often because it was inspiring and helps me find the drive and the faith to continue to pursue ministry in that place. So those are the things that I would suggest based on the story that we very briefly went through. Enjoy one another, recognize the symbolic benefit that's connected to this time that we have. Appreciate it. And I will stand as your food blockade no longer. I'm going to pray. Jesus, thank you so much for this morning. Thank you for this opportunity in this venue for us to experience one another in a way that we don't normally get to do it. As it needs to be, and that you would just bless this time together. Help us to enjoy the rest of the day, to engage in worship in a way that honors you and helps us to experience your presence. We love you, and it's in your name I pray. Amen.
Amen. Thanks, Nate. Does that work? Can you pray for the food to stay warm and it stays warm? Yeah. That'll be interesting. All right, so here's the way we're going to do this. We have lots of delicious food outside. There's coffee. There really aren't a whole lot of rules except for remember there are a lot of people here, so don't go too crazy. Everyone knows the one person at your like Christmas dinner that fills the plate too full, and you're like, I wanted grandma's turkey dressing, but you filled your plate too full, now it's all gone. Don't be that person, okay? But enjoy yourself, get what you need, and then coffee is for adults only. If you're in like the 16, 17-year-old range and you're like, but it's time for me to drink coffee, ask your parents and it's up to them, If you're my 3-year-old, then don't drink coffee. Everybody get it? That's kind of the rule there. A little spirit to the law. Okay, so this is the way we're going to do this. I'm going to dismiss first from this table over. You guys can go on, all right? That way we're trying to declutter here, all right? Little logistical practice. Everyone else, kids, you've done great. You don't have to be so quiet anymore. Don't scream, but you can chat, do whatever you want to do, and then I'll dismiss the next sections in just a moment. Thank you.